Hey there, hi there, ho there. So today's video, we're going to be taking a tour of the dash. We're going to be doing every single item on the dash and how to access all the settings on the dash. I had a couple comments about the dash doesn't show me the information I want, the dash layout isn't how I like it, things like that. So I'm going to be showing you how to make all those adjustments. Where are those settings? How do you set the clock? How do you reset the mileage and stuff like that? Where do you find the odometer? Yeah, the odometer. That's a tricky one. So anyway, I go into all of that and I'll help you figure out how to set up your Tiger the way you like.
We're going to spend a lot of time with what you can access from the toggle button here and the toggle knob, the toggle right there, that's the four-way toggle that you can select by pushing and change by moving. So it's a joystick essentially. So we're going to see what the joystick does, what the mode button does, and over here what the home button does. And we're going to go through step by step all of the things that you can do on the dash. Now the first thing that I want to tell you is that in order to know the odometer reading, there are only 2 times the odometer reading is going to show on your dash. When it's waking up, there it goes, and then it's gone. And yes, I'm low fuel. But those are the only times when you turn it on. And again, when you turn it off, those are the only 2 times you're going to see the odometer reading. Now, let's see what you get on the home screen. So we'll start by clicking the home button over on the right handlebar. And that gives us all of our menus. So we're going to start by riding modes, clicking the joystick, clicking it. And here are all the things that we can adjust through all the different modes. So we have rider, rain, road, sport, and off-road, or reset to default. So if you want to see what you can adjust on the rider mode, then you push the joystick to the right. And here we have ABS, nothing to choose there. Map, that's cool. You can choose if you want road to be your default map, rain to be your default map. Which do you want to be your default map when you select rider? I know a lot of riders who use the sport map. Then traction control. Do you want it on or off by default? Do you want the traction control to be lighter or stronger, like by putting it in rain mode or in sport mode for your rider setting? TES. What the fuck is TES? Well, TES is Triumph Electronic Suspension, and your choices are on-road setting, meaning it's linked, or off-road setting, and you can select your off-road setting damping, or you can select your on-road setting damping. Do you want it to be normal or do you want it to be high when you're on-road or when you're off-road? So there we go, the TES. And you can select if you want it to be on-road or off-road. Usually I want it on-road, so I'm going to leave it there. Okay, and then you can reset everything to default. All right, that's enough for ABS. I mean for rider mode. For setting up your rider mode for your own custom settings. And then of course you can adjust the factory settings, rain, road, sport, and off-road. If you want to tweak those, you can tweak those to your preference as well. Now back, as you see, bottom left, you just toggle the joystick left and it goes to the previous menu. So bike setup, what's in there? A, enabled or disabled. So you have those 2 choices there. Indicator, select, auto advanced or auto basic or manual. What do you want it to do for your turn signals? Do you want it to turn them off for you automatically or not? C, do you want your traction control enabled or disabled? Service interval, here's where you find your service interval. All right, I've got 2,000 miles left until my next service interval. And that tells me how many days or what the next date should be. Now that's day, month, year is the format of dates on the bike because they're from Europe. And in Europe, they put the day first, then the month, then the year. All right, and TES, modes linked, enabled, or disabled. Now, what does that mean? So the TES modes link is if you want the Triumph electronic suspension, meaning your dampening, if you want it to be linked to the modes, or if you want to set your dampening and have it ignored depending on what mode you're in, it will always stay the same. So do you want control of the dampening and adjust it manually? Or do you want the mode to decide which dampening setting you're going to have? So if you trust Triumph to set your dampening, you want to leave it enabled. And if you want to do it yourself, then you want to disable it. And then on-road settings, what do you want your dampening to be? So that's the TES, and that's it for bike setup. So let's go back a menu. We got trip setup, and those are your trip meters. You've got trip 1, trip 2. Do you even want to display trip 2? Yes or no? I like to have 2 trip meters, so I like to have that. And if you want to reset them back to 0, then do you want it manual or automatic reset? Automatic reset I don't like. I like manual reset because I want to reset it when I want to reset it. I don't want it to reset without my permission. Okay, next we're going to display setup. And ooh la la, are there choices here? Now, I had a comment from somebody that they didn't like the Triumph display because it didn't show them the information that they wanted. Well, here's where you can find all that information and have it displayed when you want it. So let's start with just the little fluff things like color. What color do you want your dash to look? So you see that change the color? And yes, it's written in English. In British English, it's got a U in there. And there it's green. Let's go back to the blue. I feel like I'm in a blue mood these days. You can change the brightness and in the high contrast. Right now we're in high contrast mode because the garage is a little dark. You can also change when you're in low contrast mode how much contrast you get, how much brightness you get. Visible trays, okay? You'll see all these options for what you can view. Here we go, volume control, music. My GoPro I still want, but I don't use the Bluetooth for my phone through the dash. So I've got volume control, music, SMS, call status, and call history turned off. I have navigation still on because I want to play with that. I don't have intercom on because I don't use that. So there you go. This is what I have available on the tray. And we'll go over what the tray is when we get to another section of the menu. All right, so gear shift indicator. Do you want user defined? Do you want the default? Or do you want it disabled? I like having the gear shift indicator. So user defined is at 9,500 RPMs. It'll tell me that I need to shift, or I can reset it to the factory default. And that is actually the factory default. So do you want it disabled to tell you when to shift gears? I really don't pay attention to it, so I just leave it. All right, language. There are a bunch of languages to choose from. There's no check, so I'll leave it in English. All right, units. Here we go. Distance, economy. What choices do we have there? We have miles per gallon UK or US. We're in the US, so that's the one we're going to pick. When I went to Canada, this is where I would select kilometers and liters so that I could understand their kind of wonky miles per gallon equivalent for liters, and I could see their speed limit signs and correlate that with my speedometer. Because when you select the speedometer, the units here, this is what your speedometer will show. Kilometers per hour is what I needed in Canada, so that's what I got. All right, temperature. Do you want Celsius or Fahrenheit? We're in the States, we use Fahrenheit. And pressure. Do you want it in PSI, bars, or I don't know what that is. All right, going back. After units, we've got the clock. This is where you can reset your clock. Do you want it on the 12-hour system or the 24-hour? I prefer the 24-hour. This is where you can reset hours and reset minutes. You just select it, and then you can toggle up and down to change the time. And then select, and you're done, okay? So let's get out of that menu. That's the clock. Same thing with the date. You can go to the year, select, it'll start blinking. Up and down is how you toggle to change the date, not left and right, up and down. And select, and it stops blinking. And here we go, date. And then we're back to color. So let's go and check out another option. We can either click the home button, you see, to exit, or we can use the joystick and lean it left to go back to the previous menu. Now, Bluetooth. Here's a whole nother menu for Bluetooth. All right, you can use Bluetooth for calls. There's a phone book, there's dial number, there's auto answer settings. So, phone book, you can label your phone book. Cancel. Dial number, you can make it dial a number. And auto answer. Do you want auto answer enabled or disabled? I've got it disabled. Okay, that's for calls. Music. There ain't nothing in there because I'm not using that. Devices. Here we go. Bluetooth devices. This is where you connect your Bluetooth devices. And you can get different connections for the rider and for the pillion. So search is where it's starting to look for Bluetooth devices that are in searchable mode. Then these are the rider devices that I've programmed, and that's my GoPro. And then pillion devices. And I haven't programmed any, so it's not going to show any. And then you can unpair all your devices on the entire bike. All right, next, notifications. Do you want to get notifications? SMS, incoming call, call ended, missed call declined, navigation interrupt. I'm not using the phone connection, so I'm not getting any of these. So it really doesn't matter to me if they're enabled or disabled, but these are the options you have if you connect your phone to the dash. If you have a compatible phone. I don't think mine's compatible, that's why it's glitchy. All right, now if you want to name your Bluetooth unit, yes, this is Brutus. I think you guys have all heard me call him that. Okie dokie. And that's it for Bluetooth settings. Let's go to reset to default. No touchy. I've already set it up the way I want it. So that's the end of our menu. And to exit out of that, you don't use the joystick. You go back to the home button and click home, and that takes you back here. Now, I told you that there were lots of different modes for looking at your dash, right? So where are they? Well, this is your system tray. And you see that I can go through it. That's trip 1. Go to the right or to the left with the joystick is how you toggle between trip 1 and trip 2. To reset, if you don't want to go through all those menus and reset it, you just hold the joystick and it resets it. There you go, you've reset. Now that's trip 1. You see the 1 at the top in the middle and up left. And up to the right, you see hold to reset. And the little check mark in the white dot, that's your instructions how to reset. You just hold the joystick. That little check mark in the circle is your joystick. All right, so next thing on the system tray is preload. Yes, you can adjust preload on the fly. You just have to pause the bike, and any red light you're at a stoplight, whatever, you can change the preload if you forgot to adjust it before you took off. On-road, I'm in the on-road setting, and I can change the dampening for tighter suspension or looser suspension. I can change the dampening on the fly. GPS, I'm not using, but I left it active because I want to play with that. Now on the GoPro screen, I don't have my GoPro connected right now, so I can't demonstrate, and I really don't want to demonstrate. because it would turn on and off my GoPro that I'm trying to record this with. So you can start and stop recording. You can change modes, which I haven't figured out how to do. But supposedly you can change to photographing and slow-mo and things like that. But I haven't figured out how to do that yet. But supposedly you can do that with your GoPro controls right here on the dash. But I do know that you can start recording and stop recording and turn the GoPro off. If it's in standby mode, you can also turn it on, but only if it's in standby mode. Here's your tack if you like seeing your tack nice and big. And here we go. These are the different styles so that you can see different things on your dash. Let's start with style number 1. It makes your RPMs so much larger on the left and the right. You've still got your fuel gauge on the left and the temperature on the lower left. And on the right side, you've got your temperature gauge, and bottom right corner, you've got your clock. And that's about it. It's very simple. You've got your gear that you're in, your gear selector in the middle. That's first gear right now. Your miles per hour is really big and bold, so you can see it in the middle at the top. And that road down at the bottom there is the mode that you're in. So if you change modes, so for example, I put it in sport mode, then it's going to have the little curvy road down there. All right, now I'll tell you how to change the modes in a little bit. Style number 2. It's got the same layout, but it's smaller. And now your system tray icons are right there on the dash where you can look at them. And I really like having it that way. Now here we go. Style number 3. 3, select. There we go. Okay. That makes your system tray even bigger. So, for example, if you want your your tack to be really visible in big numbers, where's my tack? There we go. If you want your RPMs to be really visible and you don't want to worry about miles per hour down at the bottom, teeny tiny, and your gear selection, you see the gear indicator is off to the left now and the temperature is above it. And your fuel capacity, fuel tank level is down to the left instead of the temperature. And over to the right is your riding mode, so that's moved. So you've got the digital RPMs and you've got the smaller indicators on either side of the speedometer. Let's go back to styles. And now style 4. You've got your miles per hour over on the right, nice and big. You've got your gear indicator. The temperature and the clock are together at the top right. Your gas indicator is what you've got at the top right above that. And then the mode is down at the bottom right. So pretty much everything is shifted over to the right. And then you can select your system tray things on the left. So that makes them really big, and you can toggle through them. What kind of contrast do you want? TPMS is not working right now because the bike isn't running, it's not moving. And by the way, if you're ever wondering, why isn't it showing my PSI? Well, it's because you're not rolling, and it won't start showing it until you've been rolling for a little bit. So this is not a fault, this is not an error. It just doesn't work unless you're moving. And there you go. There's your miles per gallon stats and your range estimate. There's trip counter 1 and 2. And here are your different preload settings that you can go through. This is your damping that you can adjust manually. This is the GPS that I don't have connected right now. No GoPro connected right now. And you see how the system tray is really big, but you have most of the same information going from style to style. My personal favorite is style 2. That's just where I leave it all the time. And I like to see my range. I toggle between range and trip count to see how far I've gone, how much farther I've got left on my trip, because I know about how far I'm going to be going each day. Okay, now modes. Use the mode button. You can either click the mode button and just keep clicking it to click through the different modes, or you can use the joystick to toggle through the different modes. If, say, you're in road and you want to get to rain quickly, use the joystick and then select. However, if you want to go to road from rain, just click that mode button again. You don't have to put your hand on the joystick until you select. Click the mode again, and this is clicking the mode button just scrolls through them. And whichever one is highlighted like that is the one that it's currently in. And then it lets go once you've had time to select the mode. And that's it, ladies and gentlemen. That is all the settings on the dash. So I hope you've enjoyed this tour of all the modes on the dash and every single menu and submenu and setting that you can get into on your Tiger. If you have any questions, please put it down in the comments and I'll be sure to watch for them and answer any questions you have. Also, if you're enjoying this and if you found it helpful, please like. And as always, it's really helpful to the channel if you subscribe. And if you want to find out when the different videos hit, just hit the bell icon in the corner and that will notify you when a video drops on this channel. So remember, like, subscribe, and hit the little bell. And you know what? It's time. Just get out there and have an adventure.